What's up, YouTube, FishTube and FishFam? This is yours truly, Rob, with DeFreese Aquariums, sporting the t-shirt from my last video from BriannesFishFam. So why did I bring up her name? Because the video that I did not too long ago about the swap, meeting people, getting connections, becoming customers, becoming friends, this is worm culture from her parents that she was actually selling at her table. Farrell Fish and More. There'll be a link in the description to their Get Gill stores. Between Dave, Sandy, and Brianne, they actually sell various things through their Get Gill site. So this video basically is an update into yet another new thing for me. Now I know, being in a lot of the chats for the last few months, new faces, some more tenured, and as well as I was called in a chat an OG because I was back before the Fish Fam was called the Fish Fam. Started trying stuff, doing something new, trying to learn more things. And this actually became something out of kind of a necessity. Having pea puffers, having dwarf blue rainbow rice fish, also from Farrell's Fish and More, said that they were raising them on worms, and then watching a lot of videos on Brianne's channel of white worms, which I'll show you these, and as well as Grindals, which I think these are more white worms. The Grindal culture is in there, I promise you. I actually just fed a bunch to some fish. But I don't know if you'll be able to see. There, let's see if I can get a little better shot there. Of course, they ran back into the muck. Actually, you can see there. There's a bunch of little white worms in there. So now, with that, I had purchased some Grindals and white worms at the swap and started to spread them out. Again, need for necessity, having pea puffers, having the rice fish, having a tank full of nano fish, and I can get black worms, and as many of you guys that use it and girls use it know that they've been hard to come by lately. There's almost like a shortage on those, and there were some bad batches coming out that were filled with leeches. So between that, some issues with my local stores, I decided, you know what, I need to do something, one, to save time, two, to save money, and as you guys know, I'm all about trying to save money, as well as save my sanity, because when you're not happy with a situation and nothing is done to resolve it, odds are you're not in a big hurry to want to do business at that place again. So with the pea puffers, they will go after, and as I'll show you here in a second, the white worms, and because they're, I want to say, nutritionally packed, show you what I'm actually starting to do, which prompted me to do the video, is I'm making food, regular Greek yogurt, non-flavored, some fish food, and a piece de resistance, yeast flakes. So between the three of these mixed, it creates a very nutritional worm to feed to your fish. So basically what I do is I'm preparing the bread and the mixture that I just showed you. I'll take a little bit of the yogurt and spoon it out onto the bread. Now, I've watched a lot of different videos, some of Brianne's mixtures and what she does to feed hers, and a few other guys that I've come across, actually a few girls that I saw come across as well, with regards to what they do. Some raise them on coconut fibers that you can get at your pet store, that they normally use those for reptiles. You can get it probably at a craft store. Just make sure there's nothing in it. It's just straight up bricks of coconut fibers. The bread that I'm actually using, because I don't eat white bread anymore, Deli Swirl Ryan Pumpernickel. No seeds, because I did watch a video where they spoke about seeing a separation when they were doing an experiment and they split it up with a bread that had seeds. I think it was sesame seed bread or something like that, and then a white bread, and you could see that the worms had gravitated towards the breads with the no seeds, and the ones that actually ate the bread with the seeds ate everything but left the seeds behind. So what I did was I put some yogurt on there. Take a little bit of fish food. And you can use, as Brianne uses dog food, the nuggets. I've seen people use cat food, but I don't have any of the above anymore. So I use what I have on hand. So there's the mixture. I'm making a mess here. What I like to do, just to get it all evenly, is I take a toothpick and I mix the flakes food in with the yeast, and it's active yeast. You can use the flake, or you can use the pellets or the beads, whatever you want to call them. But as you can see, it makes a nice little paste. Minus the fish food, this could be a snack for those of you that like yogurt. I can't stand yogurt. And I thought, as time goes on, your taste buds change and you eat things that you normally wouldn't eat, like broccoli. I love broccoli now. As a kid, I ain't eating it. So the first time I did this here a couple months ago, I mixed it up, and before I started putting the yeast and everything on it, I took a spoonful. Yep, brought back memories of I still don't like yogurt. These you can get at a hobby store. I actually used this in an old video to create a divider in between the beta tank that I had. So it was quick and easy. What these do is it kind of keeps this off of the media, trying to keep it from not getting so wet. So I put it face down. A little bit will sneak out the other side, and then you take another one and you basically have yourself a worm sandwich. And then take that and I put it down in here, and what will happen is, as the worms congregate here to feed, they'll actually start to climb up on the top. So what I normally have is a little plastic bottle of soda, the 2-liter bottle, cut off about that much. I use it to scoop out duckweed. I use it to thaw out frozen bloodworms, things like that. So what I do with this is, when this is all covered, which I'll actually show you another white one that's actually covered. So this one I started December 3rd of last year. But what happens is they'll get crazy, like on the other lid that I just fed. They'll start to crawl up the sides and crawl on the top. But by them On the other one, they'll actually crawl up onto the grids here, and then you just take this in that little container I mentioned, take this off. I just did this one a couple days ago, so there's not a lot on here. But when they're covered this, you can dip it in the water, swirl it around to separate the substrate or the media away from all the yuck from the yogurts and whatnot. And you know, of course, this has got started to get mold on it, which the yeast is supposed to keep away from. The problem there is it got, when I spritzed it, I got it too wet. So you definitely don't want things to get soupy. But with that, when it works, let's see if I can show you. Actually, I said, you know, they crawl on the top. There's one there. There's a bunch there. So what I'll do is, that's the same thing they'll do on that grid. And when it's full, you can just dip this in the tank, just up to the point that you don't get the paper towel wet. Swirl it around, and you fed your fish. There's basically a cutout with a piece of paper towel taped to it, and that's to keep, for those that don't know anything about the worms, it's to keep out pests, you know, gnats, mites, the whole 9 yards. And you definitely don't want to leave the bread in there too long, because as you see, it will start to mildew. Definitely not good for your culture. But this culture is actually doing pretty well. See a bunch of them here. If I flip this over, there's going to be even more. So again, basically, you know, you can use whatever bread you want. I'm having success with this so far. When I was out shopping the other day, my girlfriend says, we're going to buy white bread so that you can do your worms. I'm like, no. They eat what I eat, or they don't eat at all. I'm not spending extra money on buying white bread that I'm not going to use, not going to eat. So again, pretty simplistic. Take your yogurt, spread it out over your bread. Some of the videos I watched from some other folks, they went heavy on it. Some go really light. I kind of try to find a little happy medium, like where I just showed you that I wasn't getting a lot of the moisture in it. And I really wish I had thought in the beginning to show you the Grindal worm culture, because I might have the other one. I'll have to pull that one out. Took off, and I had so many Grindal worms on the top. Now there's a lot of talk among various channels about keeping them refrigerated, keeping them in like little wine coolers, because that kind of maintains a proper temperature, as opposed to keeping in your refrigerator, which gets a little bit cooler. For me, I found, and I know Brianne had done initially, had not kept these in any sort of refrigeration. Mine are not refrigerated either, and you can see they're actually doing, well, this one, they're starting to move around a lot more here. There's a ton of them right here. These are all the white worms there. This culture too was started December 3rd. So doing what I've been doing, it seems to be working as far as the temperature and not refrigerating it. So I have this all prepped, ready to go. Put the other piece on top. And you can tell here, this is the imprint where this was actually put in. And you can see where a lot of the worms migrate to where this bread was. Granted, the last piece wasn't as big. And I kind of just pushed that down a little bit. Put the cover on it, and like I said, a lot of the videos that I saw, I mean, the common thread is feeding them, using yeast, some form of food, whether it be dog food, nuggets, catfish, cat food, or in my case, fish food. All right, so everything is in there. Whoop, knock the top off. And as I put this in there, there are already actually worms crawling all up to the corner of the bread that has the yogurt on it. So basically what I was saying is, in this closet, which is probably a mess, that spot right there, I will take these guys and I stick them up here just underneath the pipe, and then I take my rices and whatnot and I cover it up. And because nobody's in and out of here a million times, they stay in a dark environment, kind of temperature controlled, not cold, but controlled. So here is, let's see, yep. So you can see in here, this was the original culture, and from, as Sandy mentioned to me about the micro worms and these being handled so much, and it was a cool day and people were picking them up, putting them down, that it kind of shocked the microcultures. Now one part of skin formed over it. I talked with Sandy, gently stir it, boom, it took off. So as you can see, this is the culture that I got at the swap a few months ago from Bree and her parents and her sister over at Bree's Fish Fam and Farrell Fish and More. But if you look real close in the light, you can actually see some movement. There you go. Going like crazy. And here's the culture that I took from this and started my own culture. Look at them. And I'll tell you, I'm new to this, and this is definitely turning out to be another passion. So what I had done was I had taken some oats, I took some of the yeast, and I mixed it in together, and then I put another layer on top to kind of recharge the media that was in there. And as you saw, the whole surface was alive with microworms. So with this one too, it seemed like, well, geez, am I going to be able to get anything out of here, because there was a starter culture in here, whereas the white worm culture was ready to feed, and this was starter culture. So I had taken a few out just to see if my pea puffers would eat them. Well, guess what? They did, and I took out more than I should have, and I hurt the colony. So I went ahead and got some more into this culture, as well as the new cultures that I have in the other room, and they're making a comeback, so I can't complain. And I'm going to grab those other cultures and I will show you those as well. So the other thing that I didn't mention was, by putting the yogurt on here, you don't want, you want to put the yogurt on here so that when you actually mix up your choice of food, whether it be, in this case, fish food, that it's moist. Because you don't want the worms to ingest a dry food and then dry them out and eventually kill them. Also too, I like to use a toothpick because I can spread it out a little bit better. But you also don't want to make the media too wet. It does need to be wet enough, because the worms actually have a slime over their body. And if you go back and you watch one of my other videos, there's actually some close-up microscopic pictures that I found online and put them on there. So they like to, well, they have a slime over their body. So by keeping the choice of media damp, it allows them to slide through it. Actually, this can probably use a misting here. So I just put a little bit around, and as I found through trial and error, not making it too wet and trying not to get the bread all wet, other than the yogurt that's on there, because that actually increases the mold. So I did go and I grabbed the cultures that I started from the originals. So you can see there's a bunch there, a bunch have migrated to the top. So with that, now mind you, there was a piece of bread there, pretty much the size of the ones that I showed you. They eat it. So they like their pumpernickel and rye. But with this, you can take this and dip this in water, and all those worms will come off, and they're all set to feed. Now this one will actually showcase what I was just saying. This one's a little bit too wet. It definitely needs some more media. But that's what they do. They'll eat and then they come up to the top on here, dip it in water. There's probably hundreds of worms in there, all ready to be fed, all filled with nutrition, basically gut loading your fry, your nano fish. Even some of my big fish will suck these down. I like to feed these to my neons and my cardinals and a lot of my nano fish because they go nuts for it. I also have started or continuing a vinegar eel culture that I got from Farrell Fish and More. Actually, I just checked that. I moved it to a little bit warmer place because it was cold where I had it. So all I did was I got the culture from Sandy, and what I did was I added just a tad more vinegar, and I cut some apples, and I dropped apples in there as a constant form of food. And right in there where it's cloudy, that's all vinegar eel. Here is the foam or the filter filter floss, so that it's make contact with the actual vinegar. They'll crawl up through here to get air in the fresh water that's from here down. Go in with a pipet, suck it out, stick it into your tank with your fry, and you'll have nice healthy fry. So as you saw, I mean, this is a lot of worms. Now, because they're so matted together, I'm probably going to take this and I'll feed it to the fish, and then I'll turn the media over a little bit. I haven't had time to get out to get dry media. So as I mentioned about the vinegar eel, there's what you call a pipet for those that don't know. So this is what I did was, like I said, I use this to scoop out duckweed, something like this. I'll dip in the tank, take tank water, which this is, throw a couple of cubes of frozen bloodworms in it and feed. But here I'm going to show you, you can take this, look at all those worms. And they're still coming off of here. How's that for food that you can grow, cultivate on your own, and save yourself some money? That's all that's left of a piece of bread. So they'll be okay sitting in this water, but it helps to separate them from the screen. It also helps to separate them from the leftover bread and goop that's in there. Very impressed And like I said, this was my first go around on raising live food. So now they're different sizes. Now to me this is, I mean, my other fish will eat it. I can suck them up in here and I can go feed these to my nano fish, which is perfect for them. And some of the leftovers, just because I know it's got so much nutrition in it, I can feed them to some of my other fish in my community tank. I do thank Brianne and Sandy and Dave and Olivia, the Farrell's Fishing More and Brianne's Fish Fam, for turning me on to it. And with these, I'm going to get these guys fed. I'll actually show you these going in so you can get an idea of what they look like in the tank. And let's go check it out while I feed them. All right, so I'm going to bring you in. Now you can see these guys a little bit better. I don't know if my peas just ate, so they might be hiding somewhere. So, like I said, I was going to show you these. And all you do, suck up a bunch. And let them go. So as you saw, that is the white worms. If I step back a little bit, here comes the rice fish, the CBDs, the green neons, dwarfed emerald rasboras. So as you can see, they go to town. And even when they hit the bottom, my cories will go after them as well. It's one of the peas. Yeah, he might be full because they just pigged out a little bit. There's a few more in there, so. See the other one sitting back right there. Look at these pigs. All right, now show you it from down here. As you can see, everybody's eating it. Doesn't matter who, what, or how big. Some of that's air bubbles coming from the filter. And then it gets all the bristle noses going nuts down in there. The coolie loaches come out. So it's definitely worth your time and effort to grow your own food, or raise your own food, or raise and grow your own food. Because you know with every bite that they're taking, it's healthy food that you made, that you control the quality of. So as you see, even my rainbows, as well as everything else, love these worms. Well, there you have it, folks. That is my journey, my new journey into Grindal worms and white worms. courtesy of BriannesFishFam and her parents and her sister over at Farrell's Fish and More. Like I said, I'll put a link to their Get Gills store, so if you decide this is something you want to do or you've done and you need some cultures, go to Get Gills and they'll hook you up. And as you saw, good quality. I had so many worms that I put in all the tanks. Everybody's happy and healthy. So that old adage of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I'm proof positive that that's bull. It's been debunked. Being in the hobby since the mid to late 80s, working in what is now a chain store in the fish department, and seeing how far things have grown, and doing stuff that I haven't done ever before, fish that I've never kept, such as the rice fish that are in my other video. Actually, nano fish in general was something I never kept. I had cichlids, and I had the mollies and the Texas cichlids, the convicts, all that stuff back in the day. Shared a tank with a buddy. We had an arowana, we had a pacu. So doing the nano fish, the CBDs, the dwarfed emerald rasboras, the rice fish, green neons, all that, it was all new. And I learned more and more every day. So you're never too old to learn. And, you know, it makes me feel good coming back, looking forward to 2020, you know, and doing more, and getting out there. And I certainly appreciate the subscribers that I've acquired in the last 2 months. I'm almost to that 1K. I'm hoping that I'm finally going to get there. It's been a long, long road. So with that though, the starting to go through the cultures, and I'm like, geez, you know what, I can do a video about this, and you know, something new to me and something that I'm excited to do. And to me, you know, you have to feel good about growing and raising a food that you've cultured, that you've fed nutritional foods to, so that you're optimally taking care of your fish. They depend on us to take care of them and give them the best that we can possibly give them. And knowing that I'm giving them worms that are filled with nutrients. I got to kind of see my tanks a little bit, and I've had so much fun doing this. And you know, trying to go into 2020 to do more things, to get on and drop some more content, hopefully do some panels, hopefully to do some live streams, because I have fun doing those, and I've only ever done a handful of them. Seem to have more fun, and I owe a lot of thanks to Sandy and Dave and Brianne and Olivia at Farrell Fish and More for getting me interested in keeping cultures, as well as to all the YouTubers that I've watched to further educate myself to different ways, whether it be here in the US or overseas. I've watched a ton, and as you saw, all the information compiled and used worked in a great manner, and I successfully have healthy cultures, which I'm going to continue to expand and start more cultures. That way I have a constant supply for my pea puffers, as well as my neons, my nanos, and even my rainbows and my other fish. They all eat it, it doesn't matter. It swims, it tastes good. So, but definitely also, as you saw in the beginning and as you'll see in the outro, awesome intro and outro that I am so thankful to Olivia F171, Brianna's sister, in creating for me. And definitely great work, Olivia. Thank you. Thank you, Brianne. Thank you, Sandy and Dave, Farrell's Fish and More, for starting me into another part of the hobby, like I don't have enough to do already. So with that, folks, as always, keep those sleeves wet. Peace. God bless. Oh, help me get to 1,000, to 1K. I am right there. I'm about 110 subscribers away. Please share this out. Also, comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. 2022, I'm going to try to do a lot more. I'm going to try to, you know, stay out here, stay amongst you guys. I've made a few new friends along the way, and I've stumbled on some great channels and a lot of great content. So with that, folks, I already gave you the thing. Get out of here. Go find something to do. Peace.